Welcome back to another edition of Distorted Reality's Fright Fest Theater. This week is a Valentine holiday special. We will be screening a classic slasher movie and its remake, and a early 2000s, late 90s style slasher movie as well. First up is 1981's My Bloody Valentine, directed by George Milhalka, starring Laurie Hollier and Neil Affleck and Paul Keltman. It was written by Stephen A. Miller and John Beard. It was filmed in Canada, and it's about the town of Valentine Bluffs, who had a massacre on Valentine's Day many years prior to the events of our film. There was a cave-in in the mine, and a man named Harry Warden was the only survivor of the cave-in, and it turned out that the only way he could survive was to conserve air and to have food to cannibalize his fellow co-workers. So many years later, after he's been committed to a mental institution, the murders start up again as the Valentine Day dance is being brought back for the first time in many years. This has a similar plot to one of my favorite standalone slashers, if not my favorite standalone slasher, The Prowler. It's very similar. They both came out in the same year. Very, very similar. They both involve a dance. They both involve a killer from many years prior, but doesn't take away from the fact that both of them are very enjoyable. I probably like The Prowler a little bit more than My Bloody Valentine. My Bloody Valentine is so fun and such a cult classic. Very relatively low budget. Did moderately well, as you would expect. It wasn't a bomb by any means. It was in the heart of the slasher boom, '81. The only other standalone slasher that I would maybe say I like more than The Prowler would be The Initiation. Love that movie. But My Bloody Valentine definitely ranks up there as a standalone slasher for me, and it is one of my favorites to watch. I watch it around every Valentine's Day. It's one of those movies that I watch annually. And the slasher movies are fun anyway, especially the ones in the slasher boom, because so many of them revolved around holidays. So you can always watch those once a year. There's always a time to watch one of those. If you're a horror buff, slasher movies are the way to go. Next up, we have My Bloody Valentine 3D. Alright, My Bloody Valentine 3D from 2009. The film was directed by Patrick Lussier, who was a cinematographer for Wes Craven on the Scream films. Very, very fun. I mean, I don't know how else to describe this movie. It is just enjoyable. It is over the top in every aspect. It's super gory. It takes all the 80s slasher tropes and just throws them at you all at one time. You've got well over the top gratuitous nudity, a plot that is just in a simple way, it's insanely intricate. It is very, very fun, and it's easy to follow, even though there's more twists and turns than a country road in this slasher movie. And it sets up a very good twist in the end. It stars Jensen Ackles of Supernatural. It stars Jamie King and Kerr Smith of Final Destination. It was written by Todd Farmer, who has a interesting cameo in the movie. Yeah, Todd is a strange guy. Apparently he's into amateur porn. Anyway, it's also written by Zane Smith, and it is a remake of 1981's My Bloody Valentine that we screened first this evening. My Bloody Valentine 3D was shown in 3D. I actually had a chance to go to the theater and watch it. My edition came with the old school 3D glasses, um, except instead of your typical blue and red, it was magenta and green. And kind of gave me a headache. Gave my brother a headache who works on the site with me, and just really, really difficult to watch. We watched the first few scenes, and it was cool. It works. It just, it just gave me such a headache. I actually, as of the release of this video, it was released on an official Blu-ray 3D disc. So if you have a Blu-ray 3D player and you want to watch this in 3D, you also have to have a 3D television, duh. But you can get My Bloody Valentine and see it in its actual 3D format in your own home. Does it need to be in 3D to enjoy? No, there are some typical 3D gags. They recycle the eyeball gag from Friday the 13th Part 3. They do it a little bit better. You can't see the spring coming out of the guy's head or anything like that. But very fun movie. Very successful, by the way. Didn't realize how successful it was until I did a little bit of research right before writing the review and doing the video. $15 million budget, made $100 million worldwide. Yeah. I mean, it was a blockbuster success. Does it have a high rating on IMDb? No, just very, very slightly above average. Critics, of course, didn't like it. Critics never really like horror. There are, within reason anyway. And very fun movie. I mean, if you haven't seen it, check it out. If you like gore and decent suspense, a few jump scares, and if you like Jensen Ackles being extremely brooding, you should definitely give this one a watch. It's fun. I mean, this holiday special was one of the most enjoyable that we've done so far. Not a bad apple in the whole bunch. Just enjoyable movies. And if you're alone on Valentine's Day, why not throw these in the old Blu-ray or DVD player and give them a watch? If you aren't alone on Valentine's Day, why not get your date to watch some scary movies with you? And what better than some Valentine-themed scary movies, especially My Bloody Valentine 3D. Coming up next, we're going to have 2001's Valentine, which you may be surprised on the source material for that one. Alright, and our final film of the evening on the holiday of love, Valentine's Day, is appropriately just titled Valentine. It came out in 2001, was based on the novel by Tom Savage. Yes, you heard that right. A novel. A slasher movie based on a novel. Now, while that isn't totally inaccurate, and shit, let me start over. Okay. Lastly, we have 2001's Valentine, appropriate for the final movie on our marathon. Valentine was directed by Jamie Blanks, and yes, based on a novel by Tom Savage. A slasher movie based on a novel. What other slasher movies are based on novels? I don't know what it was about the late 90s, early 2000s, but there were a few. The most notable of which was I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was based on a novel loosely. I've read that one. I haven't read Valentine by Tom Savage, so I don't know how accurate the movie is to the source material. But this has a pretty good cast. You've got Marley Shelton, Jessica Capshaw, David Boreanaz, and yes, Denise Richards is in a slasher movie, and what most would consider basically the prime of her career. It was the height of her career, and she's in a slasher movie. So, not the beginning of Denise's career. She's like, I think she's close to 30 around the time this comes out. So she's been in the game a while and does a slasher movie, which is really cool. David Boreanaz was at the height of his Angel fame, and Marley Shelton was just trying to break into the scene, and she's in a few more horror movies down the road. Very underrated actress. Valentine tells the story of a young boy who was tormented and decides to come back and, well, kill his tormentors. It's not really a heartwarming tale by any means, but it is a fun ride as well. Yeah, it's got some goofy late 90s, early 2000s tropes, but it actually ages well. I actually enjoyed this better, this viewing, than I have in many years. I remember the first time I watched it, I was pretty young, so I did enjoy it then. And then I tried to watch it again in my early 20s, and it didn't go over so well with me. I still enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much. And now, coming back to the fold, that I like the movie. Is it as good as My Bloody Valentine or My Bloody Valentine 3D? Yeah, I think so. I actually probably enjoyed it the most the out of the three films, and not because My Bloody Valentine is bad or anything like that. I enjoy the original My Bloody Valentine. I enjoy My Bloody Valentine 3D a little bit more than the original My Bloody Valentine, and then Valentine is the best of those three. It it reminds me of some of my favorite movies growing up, and it's a nostalgia thing for me too. I think it has a very Scream feel and look to it, as many slasher films did, and not just slasher films, horror films in general did after '96. It has that look and feel to it. It's hip, it's fun. It has a bunch of familiar faces in it, and and some annoying people get killed in it. And I mean, what better way to enjoy a slasher film than watching some enjoyable kills and some creative kills, actually. The mask that the killer wears in this, while not the gas mask of the My Bloody Valentines, which is very creative, this is a Cupid mask, and a very creepy one at that. Yes, there's a kill involving arrows. There's some Michael Myers style knifing going on. And pay attention to the character that says she'd rather be boiled alive, because that comes back into play. All three movies are really good. As you might have expected, My Bloody Valentine 3D, while it takes the basic plot from the original, it changes a few things up to keep it fresh, and that's probably why I enjoy it a little bit more in some aspects. But the only thing My Bloody Valentine 3D doesn't do as well as the other two movies that we watched, including Valentine, is it doesn't really capture the spirit of Valentine's Day. My Bloody Valentine 3D does have some Valentine-esque things in it, but it doesn't revolve around the holiday so much. The bookend movies, My Bloody Valentine and Valentine, that we watched, involve Valentine Day parties. People are receiving Valentines. There's a lot of Valentine decorations. It's very, very festive for the holiday, which I think a lot of holiday slashers don't capture that enough, and these films definitely did. My Bloody Valentine 3D was more an in-your-face just slasher movie. It focused on straight-up horror, and there are a few laugh-out-loud moments in it, but it was more about the gore than the holiday itself. So I think that's probably why I like Valentine a little bit more than My Bloody Valentine 3D. All three movies are great, I think. They're not Oscar-worthy on my rating scale. They're not super highly rated, but they are fun and very enjoyable. Highly recommended. Really, really, what more can I say? And that's a good way to end this one. I want you to like and subscribe to this video. Check out my Facebook page, give it a like. Follow us on Instagram, and check out the website. Check out these reviews. See if you agree with them. And be sure to comment on them on Facebook. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you agree with, what you disagree with. We would love for you to watch along with us. At 8 p.m. we will start the original My Bloody Valentine, Eastern Standard Time, of course. And 10 p.m., My Bloody Valentine 3D. And then at midnight, we will watch 2001's Valentine. Hope you can join us. Hope you can get on there, and we'll be active. We'll be ready to discuss these with you on Facebook. So just drop us some comments. We'd love to chat with you. Well, that wraps it up for this holiday special of Distorted Realities Fright Fest Theater. Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you next time.